Hey guys, and welcome to another Pygame tutorial here on the Quarters Legacy channel for our Pygame RPG series. In this video number 14, I believe, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at wrapping up some loose ends, fixing some little issues that have been popping up recently, like with the fireball in the last video, and we're also gonna be wrapping up some loose ends. So basically, the goal of this video is to really bring together a whole bunch of concepts and just complete them. Okay, so by the end of this video we should have a pretty finished product. Okay, our game should be in a pretty finished state with a working inventory system, with a working with the enemies dropping a whole bunch of different types of items, with all our item types working correctly. Okay, we can use mana potions and stuff and refill our mana bar, which we'll also be creating in this video. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of cool stuff like this. So let's not waste too much time and get right into it, okay? So the first thing I want to show you is how I fixed that little problem with the fireballs. If you'll remember correctly, what was happening was that the fireball was hitting the enemy and then just moving onwards, okay? Like, this may be what you want, okay? You may want the fireball to just kill the enemy and keep moving forward, but that's not what I want, okay? I want the fireball to basically, sort of explode on impact. And if you were getting really fancy, you could go ahead and get in some separate sprites to basically create some exploding animation. Okay, but that's a little extra, so we won't be doing that. Okay, so what I did is, let me just bring this line down here. Okay, so we can examine it. I changed the function from sprite collide any to sprite collide. The thing is, sprite collide any is just used to check for collision. Sprite collide is a bit more advanced version that takes in an additional parameter. Okay, it's still an optional parameter, but at least I think so. But this parameter, what it does is that it's called the do kill. Okay, and if you pass in true over here, what it'll do is that if a collision occurs, it'll kill the sprite. Okay, the sprite that was collided with. Okay, now I'm a little iffy on which sprite exactly gets killed. I'm pretty sure it's the one in the group that gets killed, because with this change, our code is now working perfectly, which I'll show you right now. Okay, again, remember the fireball was not being killed, was not being destroyed upon hitting the enemy, and now I'm going to show you the code. I'm going to show you the game running, and you'll see that once I shoot the fireball out, it will destroy itself on impact. Okay, just watch, and yep, it hits him and he's dead. Okay, so yeah, pretty good. Okay, so there are a whole bunch of things to now implement. Okay, the first thing to do maybe is to go over into the enemy class or the player class. In the enemy class, we need to implement a new item. In the player class, we need to implement a whole bunch of new features to allow for mana. So we'll go ahead and take a look at mana first. Okay, it's a pretty interesting feature. So we need to make some new parameters in here. Where will I put mana? I could put mana over here, I guess, in the info. The current mana will be 0. Okay, and the max mana can be 100. Now the question is, should the player spawn with some basic mana, like with a default amount of mana? I mean, I think so. Why not? So maybe we should give him like 50 mana at the start. Okay, and how about some coins? Okay, like I'm not sure actually where we were storing these, or if we were even storing these anywhere, but we should have a variable for coins in the player. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the player. You can put it somewhere else if you want to, like maybe make the inventory system manage it, but I think I'll move it into the player. Okay, so yeah, and we'll start him off with the default amount of 20 coins. Okay, and then I'll make a new parameter called mana potions and make that the default value 3. Okay, so this is just some basic info regarding the player, okay, and the items that he's carrying. Okay, we added in these 4 things. Okay, so the goal is with the mana to correctly draw a mana bar above the player's head. Okay, and the goal of these is to basically correctly allow the inventory to be able to detect that the player has 20 coins and 3 mana potions and accordingly update this info on the inventory. Okay, so these are 2 goals for this tutorial. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the mana system first because it's pretty simple. So I'll go over to the render function, which is all I need to do really, and I'm gonna say pygame.draw.rect display. Okay, now I need to draw a blue mana bar, okay, because blue is a pretty good color for mana. Okay, let's just compress this a bit, no spaces. Okay, and what's going to be the third parameter? The rect itself. Exactly. So I'll just create the rect directly in here, using the pygame.rect class. And what's the first parameter going to be? Wait, no, actually there are 4 parameters, right? The first 2 parameters are the x and y position. The other 2 parameters are the width and the height. So what's the x and y position going to be? Well, it can be the player's rect, okay, the center of the player's rect maybe, or let's just go with .x for now. Okay, we'll adjust this later if I need to. And for the y, I'm just gonna minus this by about 50 because I want the mana bar to appear above the player, right, above his head. Okay, so I'm sort of minusing it a bit. Okay, now the width and the height. The width is going to be the most interesting part over here because it's basically going to be something like 100 multiplied by self.mana divided by self.max mana. Did you understand this? It's not that complicated. What I'm basically doing is that 100 is the max size for the mana bar. And over here is a fraction. Okay, so let's say that we have 50 out of 100 mana. The fraction will be 1 upon 2. So once you multiply that by 100, you get 50. So we're going to draw a mana bar above the player that is about 50 pixels long. So that's basically the intuition behind what's going on here. And for the height of the mana bar, it can be something constant like 20. Okay, so I think we're good here. And let's try and run this now. Okay, is there anything I'm missing? I don't think so. So let's just see if the mana bar renders correctly. Well, that's good, but I kind of think that we need some modifications. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go back into the player class and reduce the height to maybe 15. Okay, and I need to maybe position this a bit back. Well, this is a bit tricky actually. Let me run this again. Okay, this looks a lot better, but I kind of want this to appear a bit behind. Or you know what, let's just leave it for now and we'll adjust this later on once the mana bar grows longer. Okay, because right now it's still at like half size, so let's just leave it over here. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the mana potions. Okay, or more importantly actually, what I want to do here is first go to the game. Okay, and once this is pressed, player.fireball, go over into the player function. Where is it? Okay, and say that if self.mana is greater or equal to 10, only then can you do this. And then we'll go ahead and minus 10 from it. So this way, basically, we have a mana check. Okay, we have a mana consumption option for the fireball. It uses 10 mana per shot, and we also have a check here that ensures that the fireball is only generated if we have enough mana. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that again. Okay, and see what happens. Okay, so I'm gonna try shooting some fireballs. Okay, here's one, and look at that, our mana bar just updated. Okay, that's because our code was pretty generic. Okay, it was well made. So basically, as the mana decreased, okay, the mana amount as it decreased, the size of the mana bar also decreased. Okay, so here we are firing off some fireballs. We now have no mana left, and I'm pressing M, but no fireballs are being shot. Okay, so this is basically the beauty behind our code. Okay, so we have the mana bar system working correctly now. Okay, So let's go ahead and focus on the inventory now. Okay. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is when the UI is created over here, I'm going to pass the player into it. Okay, this will allow the user interface to have a reference to the player so that it can use it to retrieve stats from the player, like the number of coins he has, or the number of mana he has, the number of mana potions he has, and then it can correctly update the inventory with that information. So I'm going to go over into my inventory, actually my user interface. I'm going to open up both the inventory and the user interface classes. Okay. And here we go. And let's just close what we don't need. We don't need the enemy. Okay, actually we will need the enemy very soon. Okay, so here's our inventory class and here's our user interface class. I'm going to adjust the constructor over here, okay, to allow for the player to be passed in. And then what I'm going to do is pass the player into the inventory. Okay, this allows the inventory to access the player now. Okay, so what I need to do basically is update the info in the inventory, okay, because let me just open up the inventory slots as well, just so you guys understand what's really going on and why we need to update the info over here. Because you see this variable self.count over here, it was initialized to 0, right? And that is basically why everything is showing up as 0. Okay, that's why everything inside the inventory, okay, the amount of coins is showing up as 0, the amount of mana potions is showing up as 0. So what we need to do to fix this is create an update function like this. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to take in the player from here. And I'll just save the player over here. We can call it self.player is equal to player. Okay, let's call it player info. Okay, just to avoid the same names. And I'm gonna say that self.slots0, okay, dot count, okay, and self.slots1 dot count. We need to update both of these counts. Okay, we need to update the number of coins and we need to update the number of mana potions. Now we have our player over here, and of course the player has all this info. So I can just say self.player info dot coins, I think, and over here self.player info dot mana potions. So this should update. Okay, so basically over here we are now updating this, but we need to call the update function as well. Okay, so the user interface function can take care of that. Over here I can just do update self.inventory dot update. Okay, and I'm just pointing this out just in case that this will update the inventory regardless of whether it's being rendered or not. Okay, so maybe it's more performance, maybe it's more for optimization technique if you actually update it only if it's being rendered. Okay, maybe, or maybe you don't want it that way. Maybe you still want it to have updated values even though it's not being rendered. Okay, that's totally up to you. I'm just pointing it out. Okay, so I'm gonna run this code now, and hopefully the initial values should change. Yes, they have changed. Now it says 20 and that says 3. Okay, okay, great. Now I want to go to the enemy class and add in a new item. Okay, so we have 2 items over here, and I hope you guys remember how we did all this random generation of items. Okay, if not, don't be afraid to go back and watch the item video for our enemy. Okay, I think it's video number 9. Okay, again, all links are in the description below. Okay, so you don't need to worry about not being able to access old content easily. Okay, so of course I'm just creating a new item over here. It's just very generic, okay, because of the system that was made. It's just easy to add in new items really easily. And what's the name of this? It's called mana potions, I believe, or mana potion. Okay, and I'll just change the ID to 2. Okay, this is the ID that we're using to recognize which item is being generated. and of course the position is going to be the same, okay, and I just changed the chance, okay. So yeah, and you know what, since we're debugging this, I'm just going to change the chance all the way to about 30%, okay, so that it actually shows up, and I think we're good here. Now I need to go to the item file, okay, and make a few changes in here. Now currently, if you notice here that this was just left empty, so if we pick up a coin, nothing happens. That's because we hadn't implemented the inventory system yet, and this is how we're all, you know, bringing things together, okay. This is what I meant about, you know, wrapping up all loose ends and making a finished product, okay. We're now basically fixing all of that stuff, okay, that we left empty previously. So here we have our coins being updated, the players being healed. We have a new item type though, self.id is equal to 2. And what does this do? Player.mana potions plus 1. Okay, now just one last change. I'm going to come over into our game function, and I'm going to say that if event dot key k underscore p, if this is pressed, player dot mana restore or use mana potion, okay. And I would just write use potion, but I might add health potions later, so you know, I want to keep the names a bit different. So just go over into our player class and create a function called use mana potion, and it's very similar to the fireball function, honestly. If self.mana potions is greater or equal to 1, what was it? I guess self.mana potions is -1, okay, and self.mana is equal to self.max mana. Now it's totally up to you how much you want to restore the mana by when we use a mana potion. Maybe you just want to add in 50 into it, okay? So you can also do this, it's totally up to you. So I'll just run the code, and by the way, if you do this, you'll need to add in a new check that says that you know, don't let the mana go above the limit. Like for example, if self.mana plus 50 is greater than self.max mana, then hold on, okay, then self.mana is equal to self.max mana. I hope you understood this. It's basically just a system to prevent the mana to going up to like 120 or 130 or something, which would kind of break the game, okay. So I'm going to run this code now, and hopefully everything should be working perfectly. So let me try using a mana potion. Okay, that's my full mana, and I definitely need to adjust the position because it looks way too weird. So let me go over into the player, and let me figure things out here. Well, self.rect.x, and that's not working. Okay, I have a hunch. Let me try pause.x. Maybe this will work out. Yeah, great, awesome. So I'll let you guys think about why that actually worked out. Okay, it's basically because of the ways we use both pause and rects in our player class to determine where he is, where he's drawn, and whatever. Okay, so I'll just leave it like that, and pretty good. So let's go back here and restore our mana just to see what the full mana bar looks like. And this looks pretty good. It's okay. It's pretty centered on the player. Okay. As an alternative, what you can do is simply do you know, the mana bar dot rect dot center is equal to player dot rect dot center. This is an alternative that you can do. Okay. And more interestingly, that I want you to note that as we use the mana potion, the amount decreased on our inventory. And if I try using it again, what happens? It's being used up even though you know, even though it shouldn't have, because we already have full mana. So where was it? Player. That's about over here. So, well, we'll add in a new check over here that says if self.mana is equal to self.max mana, then just return. Okay, so this should solve our problem. And if I try using a potion, okay, it'll use it once, but it won't use it again. Okay, I'm pressing P right now and nothing is happening. Okay, so that's a mission accomplished. And you can make the mana bar smaller, by the way. Okay, I'm just making it big so that it's nice and viewable. Okay, you guys can go ahead and make this smaller, okay, which is actually what I recommend. And just as a side note, you can also make the health bar in this manner. Okay, if you don't like this health bar, what you can do is simply, add in a new bar over here, maybe above the mana bar or below the mana bar. Okay, so it's kind of floating around with the player. Okay, it's totally up to you to do whatever you want. Okay, I'm just teaching you guys how to do it. Okay, so here's the first fireball. Okay, it hits the enemy and whoa, it just dropped a mana potion. Maybe we need to decrease the size of the mana potion. It looks kind of big. Okay, and let me start picking up some items. Okay, we've killed all our enemies. There were only 5 enemies on this stage, so let's try picking up some items now. Okay, look, the item amount just increased for our coins. So let me pick up a mana potion, and that went up to 3. Let me pick up the others. Okay, 4 and 22 coins. So great, our inventory system is working, our mana system is working, everything is working, and we're at a good point. So yeah, we're pretty much done here, okay, with this video, and we're really close to actually finishing with the series, okay. I think we'll be taking a small break over here, okay, just to let in some feedback come in, and just to see how how many people actually enjoy watching the videos and the series and all, okay. So I just want to see what your feedback is, okay, and then we'll proceed based off that, okay. So I still have some ideas that I still want to execute, like, adding in music and sound and some other cool stuff, okay? So just let me know what you guys think and everything. So yeah, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback, leave a like, leave some comments, okay? And I'll see you guys in a later video.